Space Engineers 2. The fact this game is even real is still such a shock to me. I never thought we would get like a second one. You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those games that you thought it'd be either go on forever or eventually die out and there would never be a sequel. Well, with nearly a day worth of time logged into this game already.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
I thought it'd only be fair if I gave a bit of a review of my impressions of the game. And something I was immediately blown away by was how good the game looked. I mean, the game's requirements are higher than my PC specs. Let me throw those on the screen for you right now. And as you can see, the game recommends a minimum of a 2080 Ti. I only have a 2070 Super.
What the hell is even that?
And yet my game looks so gorgeous, even though it doesn't have ray tracing on. Let me throw you a screenshot of my current graphics settings on this 2070 Super. Playing this game, and it looks so good, and yet I'm still getting 60 FPS. It's honestly beautiful. I mean, honestly, there was rarely a moment I had less than 60 FPS. Yeah, normally I'd dip into like 54-ish, you know, right in there. But that was honestly because I honestly think it was because I was playing on this pre-generated world with all these grids already on it that I was loading in and loading the distance in. I think that is the only reason I had less than 60 FPS, which is crazy to me. I was not expecting such great performance out of the gate. It was so clean, beautiful looking, and loaded so well. Now, this is my experience. Again, this may not, be your experience. You might be experiencing something a bit different than me, of course, right? I did see on Twitter and in some of Reddit forums that people were having a lot of problems with ray tracing in it compiling, which is crazy, because just a few minutes ago, before I started editing this video, they've already put an update out to potentially fix that. An update in less than 24 hours to fix graphical issues is mad work. Honestly, amazing job, Keen Software. You guys are doing great. How fast that you got an update out for people that are having issues with it? Record time. Genuinely, record time. Amazing job, guys. Now, not to sound like I'm trying to hype up, the developers or anything, I'm trying to glaze. It's just honestly very impressive that they're able to do that quickly, whereas most developers tend to take a few months, weeks, a year to fix issues like that. So, again, congrats. I can't get over how good the game looked and performed. Playing the game was actually quite interesting. I can already tell that the way mass works in thrust in this game is a bit different than in the base game. Or not base game, but SE1. It performs differently. Now, there is no numbers on the chart for you to be able to see how much your grid weighs and so on. There isn't descriptions on the thrusters to tell you what percentage of thrust they output, but you could definitely feel a bit of a difference. I mean, an example here is me flying around a dumb little ship I made, and you could see that the thrust and weight was very unique. Yes, there was no armor on this ship at all. It was all thruster, but, it was still pretty unique the way it worked. Something I forgot to mention is while I was experiencing this game for the first time, I was also streaming. So my PC was already under another load of me streaming the game. I was getting such great performance while streaming on this graphics card and my PC setup for what was not recommended for the higher graphics. I can't explain to you how good this felt in comparisons of SE1. My PC, without streaming on SE1, does not look very good just for me to manage 60 FPS. Performance immaculate. I'll stop talking about it now, but I just can't get over that. I'm done talking about it, but just understand how amazing it was to me, right? One of the things that I noticed about the game right away, other than its graphics and performance, of course, and the thrust, is that it feels like there should be more in the game. Yes. I said I wasn't gonna talk about things like features and whatnot in the game, but I honestly feel like some of these blocks that are non-functional should work. Like the doors and the Gatling gun, I see no problem with them being able to function. As you can see in the background, I've been actually going from block to block, clicking on and off to see what happens and seeing if they have any settings to them. I'm really surprised that the door didn't open and close. I mean, this game is not a complete 100% new game compared to the old one. In fact, in the beginning of this video, when I'm walking around the platform, you can actually hear some of the electronics of the old game, like when you're sitting near an assembler and whatnot. You might even hear it right now, me standing next to this assembler. So there's audio and stuff from the old game in here. I'm surprised they didn't just reuse a couple assets as placeholders to make things like the Gatling gun work. You know, just for a placeholder so we can have something to use to destroy objects and whatnot. The doors, so that way we can simulate how our build will look like with the door open and closed. I'm really surprised these things were not functional. I understand the cargo container not being functional. There's nothing to store. I mean, there's not even an inventory system. You can't open your inventory. You can't create waypoints or anything. There's none of that right now, which I get. We're in the very beginning of the game. But it was still strange to me that, you know, there's just a few things that are completely unfunctional that have honestly no purpose in being in this build of the game because of their lack of functionality. The assembler and refinery I kind of get, so that way we can, you know, kind of place them in a ship that we're designing, so that way when they're functional and when we get more stuff in the game, you know, they already are set up and we know how they're gonna work and everything because we know the size of the block and where it's placed and whatnot. But things like the door is just very strange to me. The Gatling gun, I mean, for Lord's sake, it could have fired, the debug gun, little laser things. That would have been really cool. I don't know. I'll stop harping on it. I just thought that was very strange. The game really does feel good. It looks good, and I'm surprised by it. There is not a lot of content, though, and that's something you gotta understand. And that's actually another one of my gripes, is the lack of content. I get that we don't have big features in here, but more armor panels... Armor panels in general, the little panels, that would have been nice to have. More shapes of armor from the original game would have made sense to be here, honestly. I'm not sure why they're not. And some different window shapes that were also part of the original game would have made sense to be here this early on to build and play with. I'm not sure why some of these stuff that they could have taken from the old game and just gave it a slight texture change, maybe up it in quality a little bit, and plugged into the game aren't here. It's a bit weird. I understand why a lot of stuff isn't here. It's a new game. It's a separate game. You know, it's the second one in the series, and so on. It's just, I don't know. It's a little weird. I feel like that's a bit of an oversight. Also, something I was doing right here, I was playing with the gravity generator. It has 3 different modes, one of them making it to where the gravity is around the thing itself. So you're gravitized around it. It is its own planet, if you will. You know, when you go to a planet, it has gravity in a circle around it. It has that itself, so where it is the core and your gravity mass goes towards it. It was very interesting. I don't know if I played with it a lot on camera, but I did play with it a lot on stream, and it was unique. So there is some interesting features hidden away in the game that you can play with. But I don't know. I can't get over the lack of things in here. I understand it's the first update, or it's the launch of the game. It's alpha. It's nowhere near being done. It's the very beginning. It's basically what the devs are working with right now. Some of these things I think could have been in here that would have taken, I don't know, an hour maybe to retexture slightly or to make sure it worked with the current grid system in the game, with how you could place small on large. I know there's no longer different grids, but small block on large block I just think is a bit weird. Also, I also find it a bit weird that we don't have some... So those really tiny blocks, the 25 centimeter, 0.25 centimeter, the really itty bitty blocks that they were showcasing, yeah, those are decoration blocks, not armor blocks, which is fine. But we only have 4 shapes. We don't have the same shapes as all the armor blocks, which I think is a little weird. Because it would have been nice to have the same shapes as the armor blocks to mess with. As you can see right here, this is what I was talking about, where it is the gravity, and we're like kind of pulled to it itself. It's very strange and weird to play around with. I don't know. I just kind of think that's a bit of a miss, not having smaller models of the other blocks just without armor value. And armor value actually means nothing in this game so far, because there's nothing, you know, that can deal damage to armor other than, you know, voxels, which give take. I actually played around a little bit on stream, and I determined that a large block, like one large light armor block, is lighter than a small grid block, creating that large grid block in size. A small block placed at the, you know, on top of each other and everything to be the same shape and size as one large is heavier than the one large light block, which is unique because if you repeat that same process with the decoration block, it's actually lighter. So there's already weird, funky little weight and dynamics in here that I was playing around with on stream to test how thrust works. I would love to make a video on that, so if you guys would like me to make a video talking about what, like, I found in the game so far, I would love to do that, but, you know, just let me know down below, right? I don't dislike the game in it at all. I really do like it. I think it's just things like the workshop with mods and or being able to share blueprints is gonna need to come really, really soon. I don't think waiting 2, 4, 6 months to a year is going to be a good idea at all for the longevity of this game in its early stages. Yes, a lot of us will come back from update to update, of course we will, but to keep a consistent amount of players on the game in the early period of time, because games nowadays, if there's not good content or content added within a month or two, it loses a good chunk of its player base, especially if there's something that's like a bug or an issue with the game that is unfavorable to the players. People will leave really quick nowadays. They don't give games second chances no more, and I find that very harsh, but I also understand. I hope that they really, really, really consider bumping up that timetable on being able to share blueprints between players. Maybe creating local multiplayer, since we already technically run a server when we boot a single player. It's localized server, which is kind of interesting. And mod support early, I think, is definitely going to be needed. The game is great, and it's basically, at this period of time, just you being able to build and design ships. Limited, though, because, I mean, you only have one set of thrusters, some gyros, an antenna. I think I've named everything already. And a couple armor blocks, right? I think mods are going to be very needed very early to keep this game going until we get things like survival, more blocks, shapes, water, and any other special, you know, content that they have planned for us that they haven't announced that may come sooner or later in development than what we're speculating, right? We don't know how long it is going to be till, you know, Vertical Slice 2, where they implement, you know, planets and survival. That could be 2 months from now. I highly doubt that. It could be in July. It could be this time next year. A lot of us aren't gonna want to play this game with no content for a year. We will, of course, enjoy the game. A lot of us will like the game. You know, we'll click on it every now and then if we want to build something. But it's gonna need content. I can't stop harping on pushing up the timetable on sharing blueprints and mod support. That's got to come really soon. That's got to come really soon. But yeah, other than that issue, of course, this is just my opinions and whatnot. You know, I'm nobody. I'm just a random guy behind a microphone recording his screen, right? So my opinions are kind of null. Also, a cool little thing is you can see that I have no bar currently when I was sitting in the ship. But if you press L, like you're going to turn on your player's, like, headlight, what? It actually turns on any light on the grid with the same button, which I thought was a really cool thing to allow us to be able to do, is L also works the light instead of us having to, like, click, you know, 1 through 9 on our hotbar to turn it on and off. I don't think that was part of Space Engineers 1. Not in the vanilla game. I'm not remembering it. You know, I could be wrong. I have had to learn new controls and whatnot. Speaking of controls, I have a complaint here. Having the whole control and then use QWEASD to rotate blocks around is kind of a nightmare. Like, I in a way prefer it more than, you know, the, you know, page up, down and whatnot. but I can't move while trying to place blocks, which I kind of think is a miss. Because I don't know how many of you have played SE1, and you're in one of those situations where the grid's kind of moving because, you know, it lost power, or it doesn't have a gyro or something, and you're, like, trying to keep up with it and place a block, but, you know, you're not smart enough to think to anchor yourself, or what is the word I'm thinking of? Oh, damper. Yeah, damper yourself to the grid. Or it could be a vehicle where you can't damper yourself, like a rover, and it's rolling, and if you try and damper yourself, you, like, hit the ground and die. I can't express to you how annoying it is to not be able to move while trying to rotate and place a block. Like, that is pretty annoying. Also, the auto-rotate, please let me turn it off. I see a button that says auto-rotate, and I hit it. No matter how many times I hit it, it keeps trying to auto-rotate. That is very annoying. Like, I line up a ramp, right? I get it at the side angle, facing this way, you know, and then I go to look down, and I miss the block I'm looking at slightly, look at the bottom of another block, and now that whole ramp is angled different when I go to look where I need to be, and I have to rotate it again. Kind of annoying. Please let us turn off auto-rotate and make it actually turn off. That would be really cool of you, please. It's very annoying. Secondly, there was a bug with symmetry where sometimes it moves. You're probably going, what do you mean it moves? Well, one, I'd like to point out that sometimes when you're placing a block and you have one block that you're placing on this side and it's supposed to place on that side, it doesn't always place on that side. Like, it's very rare it doesn't, but I have noticed that it won't, and there was nothing obstructing it. It just didn't. Another thing is what I was talking about with the symmetry moves, is I had my grid lined up perfect on the symmetry, where it was in the dead middle. I placed a handful of blocks, we got like 10, 20 blocks in, and I equipped a new item that was in my hotbar, and it turned off symmetry. And I was like, okay, strange, which is still strange. And I hit T again to return on symmetry, and the symmetry was over to the left by one block. And it wouldn't let me adjust it. Like, no matter how many times I hit the symmetry button to adjust it, it was just turning on and off. It wouldn't let me realign the symmetry. Kind of weird. I'm pretty sure that's a bug, not a feature, but who knows? Who knows, right? Another weird little thing is sometimes when you're placing blocks on a grid that has a lot going on, like a bunch of little thrusters and whatnot, it doesn't acknowledge that's a grid anymore when you grab a block and go to place it on there. It's just telling you to hit, was it like J or T, to start a new grid. You've got to, like, get up against the side of the block and, like, look at it weird before it'll let you, like, start to snap to it again. That is kind of weird. Pretty sure that's a bug, but, you know, it's an alpha release. You look at the top left corner there, it literally says alpha. It is very early in this game's development, so I get it. I get it. I just looked and saw how long I've been yapping. My bad, guys. I did not realize how long I've been just going on and on and on about like 5 things. My bad. I am a D1 yapper. If you want to see this game live and ask me questions and have me yap to you about it, check me out on Twitch, same username. I'm actually going to be live after you see this video. Fun fact, I plan to stream this game every day around noon CST or Central, whatever you want to call it by, right? Every day, so you should be seeing me live right after watching this video. Potentially, you know, who knows. Yeah, to kind of wrap things up, I think the game's good. It needs work, of course, no duh. It's alpha, it's very early in the game. Very, very, very early. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm going to be playing the hell out of it. I do plan to make little videos, like building some stupid ships, kind of like my weird little X thing I've got going on in the background right here. And like uploading them on YouTube. I also want to kind of like mess around with the game before we actually get like confirmation of stuff. So like example how I was talking about how thrust and weight works. I want to do other little experiments like that to just kind of see how much of a difference this game is from its predecessor this early in the game. Like how much of the physics is different, how much of drag weight and thrust and all that is different. I'm really curious about stuff like that, so I'm excited to try that out. If you'd like to see that, let me know. I'll make videos on stuff like that. And yeah, I'm just gonna leave you with me flying this stupid little ship I made. And if you do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, and comment your favorite thing about this game so far. And if I helped you make a decision on whether or not you want to try the game this early in development, let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.